I want to return to our exclusive story now, where a former RMIT professor is taking on the university after he was stood down days before Christmas. He believes he is being treated unfairly over his conservative views. Professor Andrew Timming joins me now. Professor, how are you feeling after your sacking?
It's been difficult. It's been a difficult week for me. But having said that, I knew that it was coming. I knew almost immediately after I lodged my grievance that the university had decided that I needed to go. And it tried for 6 months to get me out. I didn't leave voluntarily, so I knew it was going to happen. And it does help when you anticipate something is going to happen.
Well, let's go back now to the tweet that you say pushed the university over the edge. You noted how demeaning sexual jokes from a woman to a man were treated differently than those from a man to a woman. Now, that attracted a pile-on from Greta Thunberg's supporters. This was, of course, over the whole Andrew Tate, Greta Thunberg Twitter spat. How did the university handle that Twitter storm?
Well, first thing I would say is that I have published in peer-reviewed journals on the Me Too movement before, so I have every right to comment publicly on this particular matter. I understand that some individuals may have been offended by the tweet. I understand that there were a number of complaints that were made to the university, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, academics have a right to be offensive and shocking. It's embedded into the free speech codes of universities. And in my view, that tweet was neither offensive nor shocking. It was simply an observation of the sort of double standard when it comes to sexual harassment across the two genders.
I think a lot of people at home might be wondering what all the fuss was about for such a seemingly innocuous tweet. But what was your treatment like at the university after all of that happened?
Well, immediately after the tweet, I was brought into a meeting and I was threatened over the tweet itself. As a result of the pressure, I ended up deleting my Twitter account. And I'd hoped that that was going to be enough to assuage or to pacify the concerns of the university. But after that point, I was essentially a targeted individual at RMIT. And I suffered a number of incidents that ultimately resulted in me lodging the grievance against the university, alleging violation of the university's free speech codes.
It wasn't just the tweet, though. You did have articles published, for example, in the Spectator magazine. Is it fair to say that you believe that you were essentially being discriminated against or punished by the university for being openly conservative?
It's not easy being a conservative in academia. The reason it's not easy being a conservative in academia is that most of my colleagues and most of university administrators tend to be of the political left. And it is difficult to be in an environment like that when your values don't align to theirs. When someone from the right, like myself, looks at individuals on the left, I might think, these people are naive or they don't quite understand the way the world works. But when people on the left view right-wing people like myself, they don't look at me as naive. They look at me as evil. And when you look at an individual as evil, it's very easy to dehumanize and mistreat. And I think that's essentially what happened.
Well, the university's position was that you were fired because you refused to do work that had been allocated to you, amounting to serious misconduct. What do you have to say to that?
Look, just to give, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty because there is an appeal underway at the moment, and I think all the details will eventually come out. But what I can say is that a week after lodging my grievance, I was stood down. When I asked why I was stood down, the reason I was given was that the university had initiated the termination of employment on grounds of ill health clause in our bargaining agreement. This is a curious thing because the day before, the university received a note from my doctor stating that Professor Timming is fit to carry out his normal duties now and into the future. And on the very day I was stood down, I gave a normal presentation to my colleagues, and they saw that I was fine. I was stood down for a few months. During that time, I was viciously bullied. I was sacked as Deputy Dean Research and Innovation. The university's own doctor, who I was referred to through an IME, told the university that I should be returned to work with immediate effect. Instead of returning me to work with immediate effect, they just continued with the stand down and wouldn't let me back in. Finally, I ended up taking them to the Fair Work Commission and the anti-bullying jurisdiction. Rather than face a loss in that jurisdiction, the university did finally relent and let me back into work in October of this year. And at that stage, they tried to throw a bunch of additional workload onto me that hadn't been agreed earlier in the year during our workload discussions. Having tried to impose all this additional teaching workload on me, I initiated through our enterprise agreement a dispute resolution procedure that enables individual academics to dispute their workload. This matter was pushed to the Fair Work Commission. I followed all the legitimate channels to dispute that workload, but rather than listen to what the Fair Work Commission had to say in the matter, the university just decided that I was being terminated for not doing the very work that I was legitimately disputing through the enterprise agreement. So it's obviously unlawful, and I have every intention of holding the university to account. I will not go gentle into that good night, as Dylan Thomas said.
Well, we'll go a little bit more into what you're planning with that appeal and the other action that you've taken in a moment, but I just want to get your view. I mean, we've seen so many cases recently, starting perhaps with Jordan Peterson over in Canada, closer to home, Holly Lawford-Smith, Peter Ridd, cases where academics have spoken out publicly about how they feel their free speech has been infringed upon. What do you view as happening here in Australia and overseas when it comes to free speech on campuses?
It's simple. Free speech is under attack. But I should probably clarify that statement to say that it's only particularly aspects of speech that are under attack. I find that as long as you are towing the woke narrative, so to speak, or pushing the woke message, you can say whatever you want to say with essentially no repercussions. But if you take an alternative view, such as I do, a view that accentuates the benefits of conservatism and the benefits of free markets and free enterprise, these views are very much viewed with disdain. And as a result, so many academics are afraid to speak up, and quite rightly so. Why wouldn't you be afraid to speak up? I mean, look at what happened to me. Look what happened to Holly Lawford-Smith. Look what happened to Jordan Peterson. There's any number of academics. And that's why this year I've been a founding member of the Free Speech Union of Australia, who happens to be representing me in my current case, in my current appeal. And it's absolutely essential that we have a mechanism for enforcing the rules that we all agreed on, the rule of law. It is the rule of law that enables society to function properly, and no one is above the rule of law. When I say the rule of law, I'm talking broadly speaking, not just about obeying the law, but about obeying employment contracts and policies and procedures. No one and no institution is above the law. And we absolutely need an organization like the Free Speech Union to hold other organizations to account when they infringe on people's rights to free speech.
Well, okay, Professor, finally, I just want to ask you where that appeal is up to. You've got an appeal currently, an application before the Fair Work Commission, rather, I should say, a complaint with IBAC, as well as a petition that you just mentioned on this Free Speech Union of Australia website, asking the Vice-Chancellor, or demanding rather that the Vice-Chancellor of RMIT reinstate you. How do you rate your chances in all this?
Look, what the university has done over the last 6 months has all been done in the shadows. That's not the case anymore. People know now what's going on. I think that that will create a sense of urgency on the part of the university to ensure procedural fairness in this appeal. I was terminated last week, a couple days before Christmas, right? Great Christmas present. As a result of the enterprise agreement, I have a right to appeal that decision. So technically, I've been terminated, but there is this process that the university now has to go through. And I feel that my chances at the appeal stage are actually pretty good. I know the vice chancellor of RMIT personally. I've spoken with him about free speech issues, and I believe he genuinely wants to do the right thing. You know, we'll find out, but I think he wants to do the right thing.
Professor Timming, good luck with it all. Thank you for your time and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.